The time right now is 8:34. The opioid epidemic is taking a toll on the Bronx. In 2022, opioid-related deaths topped 800 in the Bronx. And numbers from the New York City Department of Health for 2023 show 712 opioid-related deaths in the first quarter alone.
Those numbers keep climbing. In the second and third quarter, 759, 777 respectively. Bronx Borough President Vanessa Gibson is tackling the problem head on, and she is joining us this morning to talk more about what she is doing. So good to have you here, Borough President.
Thank you. Good morning.
Such an important issue to talk about with the opioid crisis, one we're laser focused on here at Pix 11, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I do want to lead right now with what played out over the weekend with the attempted assassination of the former president. When you look at what played out there, you think about what happened in the Bronx just a month or two ago, right, when the former president had a rally in the Bronx, and now people are questioning the security and planning and what goes into it. So what did you know, or were you involved at all in the security and planning of that rally that took place in the Bronx?
So yes, as Borough President, I work closely with Patrol Borough Bronx on any high-scale events with high-profile individuals, and obviously knowing that the former president was coming to the Bronx, we wanted to make sure that the Parks Department, NYPD, interagency coordination in terms of capacity, police officers, and the presence of law enforcement at Crotona Park, which is a beautiful park, but we wanted to make sure that we had capacity of several thousand. And so obviously a lot of preliminary meetings with the local precinct, the 4-2, the borough, as well as Parks Department and other agencies. And we really had, a good, safe event. And I'm so thankful that everyone came with just the mindset to support an event and to not come in inciting violence in any way. So it's really heartbreaking when you look at the political discourse across the country. And of course, my heart goes out to everyone, including the firefighter that, shielded his family and died as a result of that. And the president at, a rally. It's really unacceptable that we're seeing so much violence at home and across the country. And it just reminds you of the efforts that we continue to work on around comprehensive gun control and making sure that we take guns out of the hands of individuals that should not have it, but also the security measures are in place. The Secret Service and the investigations now underway as to how this individual was able to even get so close.
But just real quickly, because you knew what you knew about the setup in the Bronx, were you surprised then by what you saw Saturday?
I was, because I know that every campaign rally that Donald Trump has, Secret Service is there. There's a full, just preparation for all of his events. And I know people are scanned, but learning more throughout Saturday evening after this happened, that this was outside the security perimeter, has caused me to even question now, what are we doing now when we have these large-scale events when it comes to Secret Service and the federal government as well as local government outside of the perimeter? We have to make sure that, things like this never occur. Never in my lifetime have I ever experienced the attempted assassination of a former president.
That's unbelievable.
Especially in terms
it's very scary in 2024.
Who is in charge of what zone and making sure that their proper communication is happening.
Yes.
Let's talk about the other big issue here, and that is, of course, the opioid crisis, which is why you wanted to come on here today. It's just a year ago that we were talking about this child, this 1-year-old that died from fentanyl poisoning instead of a daycare center. What has happened since that day in terms of bringing some of these numbers down?
So we have really looked to invest in the state budget and the city budget more on harm reduction and drug treatment programs. And obviously, our hearts go out to the family of Nicolas. That family is still in pain. It's been, almost a year. And the family has other children they're raising. So it's really heartbreaking. And since that time, we've had drug busts. We had one at a pizzeria in Soundview. We had one at an apartment building. And the proliferation of drugs and then also the sale of it and the distribution is really alarming. But also, I think we have to recognize that people are living with addiction every single day, and they need pathways to recovery and treatment. So organizations like St. Anne's Corner Harm Reduction in the South Bronx, what we're doing at Lincoln Hospital, where we're building out this opioid center that's going to have centralized services so that clients don't have to go to multiple locations, helping them with wraparound services, drug treatment program, harm reduction. Organizations like Samaritan Daytop Village, we had a press conference a few weeks ago, and we had ribbons to symbolize every overdose death that we faced in the Bronx. That was a lot of ribbons in Joyce Kilmer Park. But what we're also doing is also making sure that many people are given the naloxone training that actually has been proven to prevent overdose deaths. And obviously long-term OPCs, which they're not popular, but we have 2 in Manhattan, in East Harlem, and in Washington Heights.
That's the safe injection site.
Those are the safe injection sites, overdose prevention centers, and obviously conversations around that with elected officials and the Department of Health. We can never stop looking at harm reduction and drug treatment programs that really work, and making sure that we get clients connected to services and programs.
But education too.
And absolutely.
Right.
Education is so important, and I think starting at the earliest as we can with teenagers, with young adults, with adolescents, in school programs, school-based programs, CBOs, non-for-profits, many of our FQHCs, our local healthcare centers. We have to make sure that everyone is involved, because this really is all hands on deck.
Yeah. All right. Before we let you go, we wanted to talk to you about the beach situation.
Yes.
You've been asking for longer hours for the lifeguards to be on duty, but there's also a situation with bacteria levels in the water at Orchard Beach. What's the situation right now?
So that order has been lifted, the advisory by the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. There was bacteria detected last week during the routine daily testing that happens at our beaches. And as a result of just precaution, there was an advisory administered by DOHMH, and we advised beachgoers to not go into the water out of precaution, but that was lifted several days ago. So the beach is fine, it's safe. I was at Orchard Beach yesterday for my summer concert. It was packed, and I think it also speaks volumes to the heat wave that we're experiencing now, and the fact that we need lifeguards beyond 6 p.m. We've lost 4 teenagers in a month, 2 in Brooklyn and 2 in Queens. So BP Richards, BP Reynoso, and myself and all are calling on just the extended hours at our beaches, but also lifeguards, maybe an on-call system. We can never stop educating people on the dangers, but we also have to make sure that we have sufficient swimming programs in our communities. Free swimming classes. We don't have enough swimming pools in our communities. And so these are all things that we are adamantly working on, and we hope to keep having conversations about it, because losing 2 sisters like Zainab and Aisha Muhammad is heartbreaking for this family in the Bronx. And I was with them at their funeral. I was with the family, and it's really painful, and no family should ever have to go through that. And so we want to do everything we can to save lives and educate New Yorkers.
It is all about the education too, not just the lifeguards, but training people on how to swim holistically. Borough President Gibson, great to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
Next time we come back, we got to talk about the City of Yes plan and affordable housing. It's a hot button issue in the Bronx, but we're out of time.